The transformation at Auburn is underway. We're about to talk to Justin Hokanson about that. Brought to you, as always, from SEC Media Days by our friends at mybookie.ag.
Yeah, you can sign up with the code NEXTROUND, get that deposit bonus up to $1,000 by going to mybookie.ag. Mybookie.ag, code NEXTROUND. Hoke is with us often. You know that. He covers Auburn for Auburn Live, part of On3 Sports. And he is with us now in our studio. What is up, Hoke? How are you?
Good. Another media days.
It is. I mean, look, I'm just not going to dance around this. There are a lot of people that try to judge teams and their prospects by who they bring to media days. And this is not the most impressive list, and that is no shot at Hugh Freeze. Hugh Freeze is playing the hand that dealt him, but when you look at it, I think Lance pointed out,
Luke Dill. He's a guy that's been with the program a while. He's got 13 career receptions and no touchdowns.
Yeah, you just normally don't see that guy coming to media days. Does this speak a little bit to the roster that Hugh Freeze inherited?
I would say I think it speaks more to what the message he's trying to send to me.
Okay.
When you bring Luke Deal, Elijah McAllister, same thing. Transfer wasn't insanely productive at Vanderbilt. Good player, but he's a really impressive guy.
Yeah.
Really impressive guy. I think it speaks more to him sending a message, these are the guys I want representing my program.
Okay.
I don't care what their stats are. Luke Deal does things right. Elijah McAllister does things right. Cam Stutz does things right. They get to come to Nashville. I don't care if they're starting or not. That's
fair
that's
enough. No, that's why I asked the question, because you've got a different perspective on it.
And I actually figured that was probably, there really isn't another reason.
No, there's not. You got 4 or 5 tight ends. Luke Deal's not the best one. Cam Stutz probably going to start at guard. Elijah McAllister is going to play, but you brought in some other transfers. You got Keldrick Falk in there at Jack. So, they're not the starters. They're not necessarily the high-profile guys, but they do things the right way. That's what struck me when I saw it. I was like, he's bringing guys that are going to be well-spoken. They're going to represent the message that he wants to send and try to get things off right. He's coming back into the league. He's got his past. He needs to get this thing off right when it comes to messaging.
From the conversations you've had, and not only with Hugh but other people around the program, is he getting comfortable with the roster?
Yeah, I think he's getting comfortable. I just think there was just so much unknown in the spring, and you could hear it in his voice. There's so much he wasn't happy with. I think they've tried to address as much as they can in the portal, but I don't think you're going to know about this roster until October. You're going to have to get into these games, go on the road at Cal, play some non-conference, go on the road to College Station, and then maybe you'll start to figure out where you're at with how far guys that have returned come, where the transfers are at, where's your quarterback situation. It's going to take 4 or 5 games, I think, to start to understand where this roster's at and how much ground you made up from last year.
All due respect to Gus Malzahn and Brian Harsin, this was not their forte, media days. This seems like something Hugh Freeze will be very good at.
He should be, yeah. He should be. I was thinking about, somebody else was asked, what do you want to hear from? I was reading something. They're like, what do you want to hear from media days? And I was like, I know what I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear Hugh Freeze get up there and say something like, just watch. That's what I don't want to hear, which is what Brian Harsin did last year, and that just imploded. And so, it should be good for Hugh Freeze. That's just kind of up his wheelhouse. He's a politician. That's why he fits so well with the boosters. That's why he fits so well with the fans. You see the season tickets. He's kind of got that all shucks sort of personality that fits so well with Auburn, I think. And so, he'll get up there and say all the right things and come off as a humble guy who's overcome this stuff and a new start and things like that. And so I think it'll come off pretty well.
So I've had a surprising amount of people ask me, who do I think the starting quarterback will be at Auburn? It seems clear to me that it's Peyton Thorne. Am I oversimplifying this?
The more people ask, the more I'm like, what am I missing? The more people ask the question, it makes
I'm with you. I'm like,
guess, what
I'm like, why am I being asked this? It seems abundantly clear it's Peyton Thorne to me.
It does to me. Yeah, I don't see. I wrote about it a little bit. I don't see how it's not. For a variety of reasons. One, that they targeted not just Peyton Thorne. They targeted many portal quarterbacks that entered the portal, and they had their eye on other guys that didn't. So they were desperate to get somebody in. You go back to the things he said in the spring about quarterbacks not being where they need to be. And so then you're trying to figure out, what kind of jump could Robbie Ashford or Holden Geriner make from spring till August? You can make some jump, but you're not going from him saying, I wish we were further, and we're desperately going to find portal quarterbacks, and then all of a sudden in August, those 2 guys are your answer, to the point where they're competing. I don't see it. You bring a guy in Peyton Thorne, and the other aspect of it is, if you're Peyton Thorne, think about the conversations that he had with Auburn. I promise you he's not leaving potentially a 3-year starting job at Michigan State to come to Auburn with the hope that he gets to compete. You know those internal conversations where, hey, here's our situation. You come in and do everything you're supposed to do. You're going to be our guy. We want you to be our guy. So if you're Peyton Thorne, you're not making that jump with those conversations being like, hey, we got 2 guys we love. I mean, I don't know if you're going to win the job or not. It's up in the air. He probably doesn't make that move. So the fact that he did that also, to me, speaks to his expectations to be the starting quarterback.
You know, what's insane is Bo Nix such an Auburn guy, and that he's no longer with the program, and he is like playing at another level right now for Dan Lanning in Oregon. Do you think that was hard for Auburn fans to see him play up to that level? And then second, do you think Auburn fans would love to have him back?
I would say yes and yes. Yeah. I think from what I've seen, I think most people were happy for him.
Right.
There wasn't bitterness, but yeah, there was like, dang, you know,
because that's what they expected when he signed.
They expected. Yeah, that's what they expected. And I think he's still kind of an extension. If he goes out and he's in a Heisman finalist, I think Auburn fans will feel like that's an extension of them to some degree. And yeah, they would. Oh my gosh, yeah, they would love to have him back. I mean, what a difference a year makes when you start. And you don't know. You got Bo Nix. You had offensive line. It was hard to pinpoint sometimes because Bo could be a little crazy, and you're like, what exactly is the problem? Well, you saw what the problem. He goes to Oregon and he's great. And so yeah, they would want him back in a heartbeat. And I wonder if Hugh Freeze, with his connections with Gus Malzahn, I wonder if there was any interest in trying to bring him back as a grad transfer.
Right.
But that would have been
that would have
story
been
of
wild.
all stories.
Yeah, that would have been
can
wild.
you imagine what that would have been like? But I'm wondering if there was any thoughts to that.
It's sooner or later going to happen with transfer portal. You know, I mean, one of these guys is going to make their way back around. But was it Jacob Hester we had on yesterday that said, you know, Bo Nix probably could start for 10 teams in the SEC?
Yeah, and it's a good league for quarterbacks. I mean, it's a good year for quarterbacks, I think, too. So I think that speaks to Bo. I mean, if you look at what he did at Auburn, if you go back and look at the numbers and stuff, he was really good. You know, just the pieces around him weren't always there, whether it was offensive line inefficiencies or didn't necessarily have enough playmakers at receiver. He was asked to do a lot from an early age, and maybe Gus Malzahn was right. I remember after that Oregon game, first game, he throws the touchdown, they win the game, and he came out and said, Bo Nix is going to win championships at Auburn.
I remember that.
You remember? Very declarative. Yeah. And, maybe that would have happened if there was a few more pieces around him, because you look at how he's playing, and he is a championship caliber quarterback.
Oh, but please, if he's a Heisman finalist, I want to be on social media the next day when Auburn fans are saying it's an extension of Auburn.
Oh, you don't think so?
I think it is.
Okay.
I think it is. I have no problem with that. It is something Auburn people kill Alabama people for all the time. Is okay. Yeah, it's an Auburn Heisman finalist.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts.
On the other side, it'd be like, it's an Alabama Heisman finalist. But 100%, because I still believe his heart's in Auburn. I mean, I honest to goodness believe if he had a dream scenario, it wouldn't have been for him to be a Heisman finalist or a champion at Oregon. He would have rather had it at Auburn, right?
Agreed.
That's who Bo Nix is.
Yeah. I mean, the guy's 10 years old with a jersey on the sideline.
Yeah,
he's an Auburn guy. There's no doubt.
And I don't think that'll change. I think that's why Auburn fans still like the guy, because they know really deep down inside he only left because of the surrounding parts.
Yeah, and they also don't like Brian Harsin, and that helps.
That's that whole era.
Brian Harsin's the enemy. They can blame him.
Bo agreed. I can't leave Auburn. Bo could at least leave Auburn. I totally relate to that. Yeah. So we're at SEC Media Days, man. Is there still a chance they add another piece to the roster before we get to kickoff?
I mean, I would say yeah. I mean, you still got late graduate transfers that could be in the mix. It's rare. It's going to be few at this point. You're talking about really late to the game, where even if you graduate, you're a good player. I mean, best case, you arrive and you got fall camp to figure it out. But when you're in the situation Auburn's in, where you're trying to rebuild the roster, and you're Hugh Freeze, you're taking anybody. And if he's got 3 weeks to figure it out, if a kid comes in and he arrives a week before fall camp and he doesn't know the offense, whatever, you're still bringing him in. I mean, that's the way the portal is. You're bringing in the talent. Worst case, you're bringing in somebody that will compete in practice, and you can help push the room and get the room better. Best case, he comes in, picks up the offense, and is a legit player for you. So, yeah, I mean, I think – now, I will say numbers-wise, they're about there. I thought they were already at 85. DeMario Tolan leaves the team. Powell Gordon's coming back. They're basically at 85. I don't exactly know where the number is. So if they do bring somebody in, they might have room for, one, maybe two, but I don't even know if they have room for two. So, they're kind of maxed out at this point.
Oh, there's a Jim Dunaway at the bottom of the roster that if somebody good comes in, they'll be like,
make it work.
By the way, you'll need to pay this semester.
Yeah. I'm sure they could figure it out. I've already heard some stories about how Hugh handles the whole NIL, and I don't think he's playing games if you're out, somebody else is in.
He would probably love a receiver, I would think. Wouldn't you think that room could use some help?
At this point, that's the room.
They're big, though, aren't they?
The guys that got coming in?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jair Shorter's 6'2", 205, big guy. Shane Hooks is 6'4". Shane Hooks is probably one of the most impressive players. He's going to look like Sammy Coates looked, where you look at him and you're like, that's how they should look.
But that's
Shane Hooks.
That's the receiver Hugh Freeze. You think of Laquan Treadwell, right?
Oh, yeah.
That was a Hugh Freeze guy.
A.J.
Brown. Those are the type of receivers he had at Ole Miss. They were dominant guys.
And you got Camden Brown coming back, who that's what they should look like. Nick Marner's a taller guy, leaner guy. So they've got a good mix now of some slot guys and then some guys who are 6'2", 6'3", 6'4". But the receiver room is probably the one room where you don't know who your playmakers are at all. You got some transfers in. I think there's potential, but you don't completely know. And I would also say it might be the room. I don't, I'm no expert on offense, but I think receiver coming in could be a position where you could learn things pretty quickly. Hey, put him on the outside, certain situations, and get him the ball versus some other positions where you're arriving in August and maybe you're an offensive lineman. You're not going to do that, or a linebacker. You're trying to read. You're trying to figure out the defense. That's tough. A receiver coming in right at fall camp, you could probably pick up enough to be a threat when you need to be a threat.
All right, our coverage from Nashville SEC Media Days presented in part by Woodbridge Wines, and they are with Constellation Brands, a proud partner of the Alabama Crimson Tide, and they bring you coverage of SEC Media Days. Woodbridge Wines by Robert Mondavi Wines, fruit forward, smooth, made for sharing. Woodbridge Wines offers you a wine that doesn't get uptight about wine, so you can have wine your way. Visit woodbridgewines.com for delivery or find out where you can buy locally. Woodbridge Wines by Robert Mondavi. Please enjoy responsibly. Also, mybookie.ag, code next round. Go follow Hoke on Twitter @_J Hokanson and sign up for Auburn Live, part of On3 Sports. Great time to do it. Thanks for the time as always, Hoke.
Appreciate it.